Hey everybody, it's Ray, and today I am at the place where I started the early part of my life, and that part would be Marktree, Arkansas. I lived here until the summer between my kindergarten and first grade year of school, and which was around 1976, 1977. And so I lived here, and when I say lived here, I practically lived here. And what I mean was behind me there, especially right over in this area here, used to be where there was a John Deere place. And the John Deere, of course, not only sold tractors, but they serviced those. And then they would have all of their tractors and things out on display out in this area. And just a little further this way would have been about where I lived. We had a house and a trailer there that I grew up, and like I said, until about the first grade. And so I actually have many fond memories here in Marktree, and all of this stuff, like this stuff behind me, it wasn't here. This was in fact, all of that was just big, open, empty fields, and that's the only thing it was. But of course, Marktree has grown just like some other towns, and it's a very, very nice baseball fields and park now. My son grew up playing baseball over here against some very nice, good players. Made a lot of good friends over here. And I currently still have a relative that lives in this town. And maybe if I get a chance, I'll show you where I had as, see if I can show you this. I don't know if it'll show up. So as a kid here in Marktree, my hand went through a plate glass window, a glass door, and it cut my hand down to the arteries. It cut the ulnar nerve. It caused a lot of damage and a lot of trauma to me as a kid. And then at the time, it was actually easier to go over to West Memphis to hospital over there versus actually went to Memphis to go to the hospital. And so that was my memory, my most profound memory here in Marktree. But it's not always been bad, and even in that case, it wasn't. I was having a very fun day, and I might explain later what led up to that. I was having a very fun day, but I've got some very fond memories here in Marktree. But I have to admit, I don't know a lot of people here anymore, and hoping to, if it doesn't get too hot, to get out and explore today. So I'm also here, of course, to fly my drone and document the area around, because as I mentioned before, and I'll mention it again, I want to document and get it on video, the existing buildings and the existing layout. So when things grow and change, there is some sort of historical record of what was there, just as in with this. So with this, I would have loved to have had some aerial footage or a picture, of course, of what was there. And I'm sure someone somewhere has a picture of the old John Deere place and the old layout. And if you do, please let me know. Even up until recent years, when with all of this, before I believe before they kind of added all this in here, there was the John Deere place was still there. Their tractors and things extended way out into that area there, in that grassy area, I believe. And so now, if you want a John Deere, you can do that, but you go across the interstate, and across the interstate there's a nice Greenway tractor place over there. I don't know if Greenway was the name of the John Deere place back then when it was here in on this side of the interstate in Marktree, but anyway, so I'm going to get the drone, get it flying, and get some video as much as I can, cover as much of Marktree as I possibly can, and maybe show you around a little bit with me while we're at it. This is the place when I was a kid that I cut my wrist accidentally at those double doors right there. So what happened to me is that we would see if I can turn and show this to you. We would walk across the road there from where John Deere used to be. My grandpa at the time worked here as a welder. And we would come over here and go say hi to Grandpa. You know, back in those days, little kids could run into the shop area and it was no big deal, supposedly. But we would go say hi to Grandpa, and we would ask Grandpa for some money to buy a soda. And we, you know, they had one of those old-fashioned machines where you put your money in and pull the bottle out manually. So anyway, it was always a big fun thing for us. And so we'd ask him for some money. He'd give us the money. And so what would happen is we would get our drinks, we'd drink them real quick, and then we would come back out those double doors. Now what my brother would always do to me is he would block those double doors. And so it was always something where I would take some steps back, get a running start, and run and push the doors open, and he would act like that I just had superhuman strength and was just knocking him, you know, away. We did that. That was a regular routine for us that I can remember. And then that one fateful day, we did it one more time, and my hand, and it looks like it's almost the same doors, I swear, but it had a bar going across the door. And my hand slipped off the bar right through that glass. I mean, right through that glass. And cut my hand to pieces. And I never will forget the gentleman's look on his face that was behind the counter, behind the parts counter right there. He didn't look like he was... He wasn't mad. He was just scared. You could tell he was just scared for me. And he immediately grabbed like a shop towel or something. I forgot what it was, because my hand was just gushing. Like I cut some arteries, I think, instead of veins. But blood going everywhere. He wraps it up, and next thing I know, I don't remember how I got there. I don't remember if it's an ambulance or I think it was. But next thing I know, I'm in the hospital, and you know, my hand's all sewn up and all that stuff. So yeah, what a fond memory. Sorry for hearing Mark Tree, but it was a fun one. It really was a fun one up until the, you know, getting my hand gashed part. But anyway, let's continue to look around Mark Tree a little bit. It has most definitely warmed up out here. It's not even 11 o'clock this morning, and the current temperature is 95. I didn't even look to see what the heat index was. I don't think I want to know. There is a bit of a breeze blowing, but it's kind of like, I don't know, if you stuck your head in the side of a clothes dryer while it was running, it would be that kind of breeze. It's really not that bad. There is a little bit of a breeze, but it's still rather warm. Now, I haven't been in downtown Mark Tree in many years, but I did not realize that Ritter had bought all of these buildings. Now, I've talked to some locals before from Mark Tree, and I have often been told that Ritter owns Mark Tree. I don't know how much truth there is to that, as much as just a stretch a little bit, but anyway, as you can see, there are some other buildings that don't say Ritter on them. Oh, and look, that's pretty cool. Kind of a traditional looking alleyway that you would see. And, you know, I kind of remember this alleyway. So as a kid, when I lived here, the nation was having its bicentennial celebration, and this main street over here, they had a festival, and they had all sorts of things Seems like that, could be wrong, but it seems like there was a grease pig contest. I know there was a thing where they would put a watermelon, I think they put it inside of a kind of a tire tube or a tire, and the fire department had a hose that they were spraying on it, and they would, anyway. So what you had to do is, if you wanted this watermelon, you got in there and you wrestled another person for it and got it that way. I remember this whole downtown area being decorated in red, white, and blue. And they also had canoe races going on that morning on the St. Francis River. So anyway, so yeah, you can see all these buildings are still the same buildings that was here when I was a kid, but of course they have become many different things. So I believe there was a Ben Franklin store here at one point as a kid. It's very nice. I mean, I love downtown areas, and wish Marktree all the luck in the world to revitalize their area. Which, I mean, it looks like they're, for the most part, these buildings are occupied. And it has been not too many years ago that I ate at a restaurant down here. I don't know if it's still open. A little barber shop. That's cool. Yeah, there's a little store. It's not open today. But yeah, there's some pretty cool looking stuff. Lots of potential, that's for sure. Linda's Flowers and Gifts. So here's a flower store. That's something I don't think we have in our hometown at the moment. So, and the Poinsett Cafe, which is closed. Yeah, it looks like they're still very much active though, which that's cool. And Wanda's. Wow. So like a formal dress shop, looks like. And then this building over here used to be Scott's Furniture, and I used to work for a company that was a wholesale florist, and at one point she did flower arrangements here, so we sold flowers to her. So I used to be here quite often. But looks like it's no longer in business, and the building is looks like it's okay, but surely needs some attention soon. That's for sure. And then I'm guessing that this is just a small little city park type thing. It's very, very nice. Little gazebo could use a little attention, but it's pretty cool. Oh, and this mural, I don't remember how many years ago this was painted on here, but at one time the colors on it was just brilliant, and it represented everything, gave a good spectrum of everything here in Marktree. But it's faded as well. And I don't remember a time where this car wash was not here. And someone could correct me, but it seems like that building over there may have been a newspaper at one point. Definitely could be very wrong on that, because I don't remember for sure, but anyway. So let's go explore some more. I think there's some more buildings across the tracks. And at one time, it's not here anymore. At one time, there was a tree. Now, I've heard different reports on what the truth is, but there was a tree that was set up on some stands, and it was called the Marked Tree. Thus the name of Marktree. So it's not... So I know with my southern voice it sounds like I'm saying Mark Tree, but it's marked, M-A-R-K-E-D, Mark Tree. And so anyway, apparently there was a marked tree, and if you look it up, it's actually Native Americans had a special tree that they used for navigation, thus the mark on the tree. And this being located on the St. Francis River, it became a place where there was a lot of trade coming through here. So, all right, so let's go exploring some more of Marked Tree. All right, well, I have just found something that kind of fascinates me. I think it's pretty cool. Now, I don't remember ever, for the 5 years that I lived in Marked Tree as a kid, I don't remember ever seeing this. So it's just a little walkway going across the railroad tracks and to a tunnel. So I've got to go check this out. This is really cool. This gets you safely under the main tracks. Looks a little creepy and scary in here. Ooh, but I love it. Look at this. This is great. This is absolutely great. Look how big. Well, you can't see that, I guess. Maybe you can. Let's get the screen on here again. Sorry about that. Yeah, look how big. These things are just huge. Wow, I have never ever known that. Not only that, I have driven by here on many occasions to like when my son was playing baseball as a kid, or for different occasions going over to the baseball fields. To be honest, I always thought this was some sort of culvert, but wow. Sorry, I know I don't seem to be overreacting. This is really is fascinating to me. And it's interesting, all the trinkets and things that are in here as well. Kind of curious if this is the safest place to walk through at nighttime, though. But I'm glad to see that a town like this is not shutting this down. I mean, yeah, it's got tons of graffiti and everything, but at least you can still utilize this to get safely by the tracks or across the tracks and get to the other side to continue on without having to go a long way around. Some of this graffiti does look pretty cool. I like this kind of, this of course kind of reminds me of some of the graffiti back in the 80s that you would see, so popular back then. But anyway, well, that's a look at that. I was driving by and saw that, and I thought, no way. But sure enough. All right, we'll continue on. Alright, so I don't remember for sure what this used to be. It's obviously an old gym. I don't know if it was the Marked Tree School's old gym. It's been forever. It seems like their old school buildings used to be over here. But what I think is really nice, and these actually look fairly recent, but there's some basketball goals out here that are made to take some wear and tear, and they look pretty new. So I think it's pretty cool that the town of Mark Tree has put these in for the public to use. Even has some water faucets out here, so I would imagine that these are pretty busy, especially when the weather's a little bit cooler. Right now it's currently, I believe it's 96 degrees. Heat index is 101, I believe. So most people are staying in the shade, most smart people. And you notice I'm out here in the sun, but most people are in the shade or inside. So, but anyway, very cool looking. Really like it. This is a nice little park. They've got a little pavilion and a nice little walking track. And the stuff is, I don't know what kind of rubbery asphalt mix this is, but this is very similar to what I remember being on a lot of high school tracks. So it's got kind of that soft rubbery feel to it. So yeah, it's really nice. I'm sure these the folks around here enjoy having this little park, and very good of Mark Tree to make sure they provide something like that for their residents. All right, well, these are some of the buildings that were, I could see from the drone across the railroad tracks, and these buildings have seen better days. Oh my goodness. Don't know if you can read what that says, but it says Undertaker's Hearse and Ambulance Service. Wow. I think it says service. Let's see. Undertaker's, hearse, and ambulance. Yeah, it's saying service, ambulance service. So, well, isn't that just interesting? Now, this building, and looks like all of them are going to be the same way. It's very much in disrepair. See if I can safely go in here. Wow. Yeah, this would have been super interesting to see back when it was functional. Oh, you can see some of the really old ceiling, the ceiling tiles there. That's really cool. Yeah, unfortunately, this is a very common sight with most downtown areas. In a lot of towns, a lot of small towns especially nowadays, that they're just falling into disrepair. And unfortunately, I think it has a lot to do with the structure itself, but also regulations that are required, or the repair cost to get things up to code. And so it's just, I think it's hard for people to do. But a bit of a diamond in the rough here is there's a nice looking Mexican restaurant, La Fiesta Grill. That looks pretty cool. I don't know what the building next to that was. Looks like it could have very easily have been a nightclub at one time. But yeah, that's very cool. And then check this out. Here's some old junk, if you will, but not just junk, these cars. And I don't know for sure what this was, but looks like it might have been like one of the old dairy trucks, or even an old ice cream truck. That's very cool. Yeah, so, and looks like a bit of a repair shop going on there. So yeah, let's keep looking around Mark Tree to see what else we can find. Never know. Alright, so I am at my last stop in Mark Tree, and I'm at the Cypress Park which is as you're coming into Marktree. It's going to be on the right hand side before you go over the bridge that crosses over the St. Francis River. But anyway, it's just a nice little shaded area. It's kind of a multi-use type of area. I think there's some areas that maybe they use for horseshoe pits for occasions. I remember the place as a child living in Marktree. There was just a little story to share. There was a carnival that was set up back over in that area, and I don't remember what the occasion was or why it was here, but it was awesome to have this little carnival, and I lived within walking distance of this park. So I just remember coming to this carnival with my brother, and my brother, of course, I'm sure was tasked with keeping up with me and being responsible for me. But anyway, so what happened is that there was a fun house. The fun house had Spider-Man painted real big on the front of it, and I didn't know at the time, but Spider-Man had not been out very long at that point. And anyway, but I do remember seeing Spider-Man on TV. And my brother was trying to get me to go into the fun house with him, and it was kind of darkly lit and just looked kind of scary, even though it had Spider-Man on the front of it. And so he tried his best to talk me into it. And one of the things that he told me in order to try to talk me into going into this fun house was, "Hey Ray, check it out, it's Spider-Man. If you go through this haunted house, you'll be turned into Spider-Man just like him." Well, believe it or not, that didn't sit with me very well. I started crying and said, "I don't want to be Spider-Man, I just want to be me." I would easily be Spider-Man in a heartbeat now, just for the adventure and just think of the money I'd be making. So anyway, that's my little story for my memory of Cypress Park here in Marktree. Again, I'm not sure what they use it for now. I know there's a boat launch over in that area so that you can get into the St. Francis River. And I've noticed several cars parked out here in the shade because I think they've been over to the little dairy breeze over there, dairy freeze, whatever it's called, to possibly eat lunch in the shade. So not a bad place at all to do that. It's right here in town, but yet it's very, very quiet and very peaceful. So anyway, that's going to wrap it up. That's all the adventure I can take for one day. I'm getting too old to do a lot of this, and I know older people that can do much better than I can at this. But anyway, so this is Marktree. Thank you all for coming along with me today. Don't forget, if you don't mind, hit that like button, and please subscribe and hit that notification bell as well too. So thank you so much for coming along. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you. Until we meet again, see ya.